So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add here at the bottom part here expenses, all of our expenses, right? Now obviously we can start from scratch, or I can just take a project and clone it. So one of the things I can do is to clone my web part. Yeah. So when I clone this, I'll just go in and change it and say this is my expenses. Okay. So it looks the same, except when I come into my view, I'm going to filter it differently. So when it comes to my expenses, essentially what I'm going to be doing, my filter is no longer going to be on project. It's going to be on created by, right? And the created by will be equals to whoever who is logged in. So when I click on that option, I look at the current user. I will have a field called my ID, which is a SharePoint user ID, and that will filter for me all the expenses that's created by me. Now I will just come in and group it, and I will group it by project, the project lookup name, right? And I will expand it, and what I will do is I will also display the subtotal. Now when I save this, I can now drop this onto my default page. Okay, and I'm going to put it on my footer section, and voila, it's here. So once I filter it, it's here, and now all my expenses is down here. Cool. And I have all my options, which was previously here. Now I would want a similar one, but now it's for all my approvers. So what I will do for that is I will now clone my expenses, okay, and I will call it my approvers. Yep. So in my approvers, I will change my view, and I'll just select my filter and say my approver. Okay. And what I will do is I will filter, instead of created by, it will be approved by, right? And I also add a condition whereby I only want all those that is not approved, and that would be my status field, when my status field is not equals to, when it's equals to new. In other words, it's brand new. Now I will save this, okay, save my web part, and I will drop this onto my approval page, and I'll put it in the header section, and I am done. Okay, and that's all my transaction. Okay, so now I'm here, and that's, so now that we are ready, let's build the transaction, the workflow for the approver. Now in the approver, we'll be using the list called expenses, right? Once you're in there, we have several modes of operation, and the one mode that you want to do is it's called visual mode, right? When you do a visual mode, it gives you a design canvas where you have several components. So one of them is stage. So I'm going to require 3 stage for my system. I'm going to drag this 3 stage, and the first stage is for the team members to submit. After that, the project managers will approve it, and finally the finance department will process this approved expenses, right? To continue the logic, we sort of link the process together. Once you submit it, it goes to approver. When you approve it, it goes to process. But how do we know it's approved? We know it's approved because the project manager will come into the system and toggle a field called status and change it to approve. Okay, we label our caption. Now, if he rejects it, we will then send it back to submit again, right? And again, we set up our function and say if the status is equals to reject, we set it there, okay? And that's essentially our workflow. Now, with the workflow, we focus on the people. So there are several group of people. If you click on this double person icon, you will see that there are people. And me is a default field for SharePoint, which means everybody. So everybody can submit. when they come in, they will have 3 forms for them to submit. So obviously the creation is called a new form. So if you look at here, there's this icon which says edit form. Click on this, and now I can actually go in and do a new submission. So under a new submission, I say new expense. Okay, I can come in and I can specify which column is enabled, which column is locked, and which column is hidden. So at this stage here, the column that is hidden is status, because it's always new. The approved by, which is going to be a project manager, it's going to be locked. The approval remarks, we haven't reached it, so we won't show it. And the date approved, we will lock it. So what I'll do is I will move my project to the top, okay, so that I can see exactly where I'm coming from, right? And this is my view, and essentially I'm going to save this, and I'm done. Okay, so if I follow the next step, it's going to come back to the approval form, and in this approval form there is again a row, and this again is everybody can approve. No, not really. I will use the edit form, and this is my approval form. So in my approval form, what I want to make sure is that the only person who can approve is the project manager, and the project manager is defined by this field called approved by. So this approved by field has to be equals to the current user who log in. So if you are not logged in as the project manager and not getting the My ID, you will not be able to approve. Now, after seeing that, I won't want you to change what the person has submitted, right? So the only thing I want to change is the status. I want you to be able to change the status. I want you to say the approve. For the date approved, well, I will just set the, I will just leave it, I will just hide it, okay? The project is already previously done, so it's also locked, yeah, and I will just key. So you only be able to update 2 fields, what we call approved by status and approval remarks, right? So for the date approved, I will default it to the system date, which is today, okay, and I will save this. So that's my approval date. I realized that it also had the option of going back if it rejects it. So when I come back to this part, there is also an edit page. So in this edit page, we should be pretty same to the submit page. So we'll import the format, the settings for the submit, right? It's almost the same, except I'm going to be saying it's resubmit. Yeah, in the resubmit, everything is the same, except I want to show that the status is rejected, and I want to show the approval remarks. So this is the 2 field that I want. And now when I press save, I want to have an action. So I create a new action group because I need to reset my status. Yeah, and it's to set status equals to new. So whenever he save it, I want to make sure that the value of my current item, which is to update the current item, I'm going to assign the statement for this status. I will set it to new again. So in other words, each time I save, it will set it back to new so that it will wait for the next submission. And when I save this, I am done. So at the last part here, I'm going to not let them edit. I'm going to just remove this. So I'm almost done, except one little thing. How do I determine who is my project manager? And that's by my lookup field. When I look up field, I do some validation. And within the validation, what I would do is I will go to the project manager from the project field and put it to the value called approved by. This will, whenever you select a project, it will copy whoever is the project manager at the time and set it to this field called approved by. And that would have saved my lookup. So when I'm done, I've saved this, we are all ready to go. So to test it, I can come in here, I press new. Okay, so here I have it. I'm going to buy a car, and it's going to be a Ferrari, and it's going to be a fixed asset. It's going to cost me 125,000. Okay, and I'm going to do it for World Partner Conference. Notice it select the administrator. It will go in here. So, and it saved it, and that transaction would have been saved. Right? When I come to approver, I will realize that there's a car request for me. Now I can come in and I can update this expense. And one of the things I can do is I can approve it, and I say great. When I save it, it will be gone, because the status is no longer new, it's approved.